Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Trellis and Trails Homestead. I'm Jacqueline. So I just wanted to talk to you guys today about what I'm planning for my 2024 garden. If you guys watched the seed haul video, you saw what seeds I ordered from In My Gardener this year, what seeds I already have from last year, and what I'm planning to plant in my garden. Today, I just wanted to get a plan together for when I'm gonna start seeds inside, when I'm going to put my seeds outside based on the frost date and the temperatures, and which seeds I'm going to just direct sow when the last frost has passed. So probably in June, I'll be able to direct sow some of these. But I have my seed box here. I decorated it with some plant stickers that I had. And I had it all organized the other day, and then I kind of went through it and got some things out and looked through some things and tried to get a plan together, and it got all unorganized again. I'm just going to take these out. You guys probably saw in the last one the tomato and tomatillo varieties. I still haven't decided about these yet just because I have some tomatoes and some tomatillos that I'm planning to plant. So I need to look more at this and see what we think. I did open this one, the medicinal and tea herbs packet, and they are individually packaged. But the cool thing is that, so this is anise. It comes with a QR code on it, so you can scan that to see when to plant it, how to plant it, like a whole growing guide on each seed. So there's like 15 packets in here of different seeds. My plan for this, I'm really excited about a tea garden. So my plan for this is I have some stackable sort of planters for like vertical gardening style. I'll have to grab those and show them to you. So I'm planning to plant in one entire thing to have like 10 stackable planters for each one. So I have 2 of them. So 20 planters each. There's 3 little like trays to it on each. Let me just grab it for you real quick. So they look like this. I got these from Dollar Tree, actually. There's lots of vertical gardening planters out there. Greenstock is a pretty big popular company. These, I mean, they're not as good as Greenstock, obviously, because they came from the Dollar Tree. I'm trying to turn the brightness up a little bit. The quality is definitely not as good, but you can see there's 3 possible areas to plant in each one. I wouldn't use the middle on these because they stack. So let me show you a few of them. And you can just keep building them up. So like I said, I have 10. These are going to be huge, but there's still a bunch on the bottom. So 10 of these that stack. And then you have the perfect option for vertical gardening, gardening in a small space, anything like that. These little pots themselves are kind of actually big once you stack them together. There's plenty of room for herbs and other things to plant these. So I'm so excited to have this as an option. I really like to do gardening on a budget. Nothing against some of those other vertical gardening systems. I know that a lot of them have their own like watering system and other things, and that's really great. And you could maybe do like a makeshift kind of hose situation or watering situation or drip irrigation system with these, and that would probably work out really well. My husband is super handy with those things, so I might see if he can kind of rig something up for these. But otherwise, I water my plants basically every day anyway, so I can totally just go out there with the hose and just give them a good water. So I'm going to use, like I said, this is 10. I'm going to stack them all up. 1 full vertical garden, probably for my tea garden, and see how that turns out. So excited about these. I tell you guys a million times in every video how much I'm so excited about things, but I really am. It doesn't take a lot for me to be excited about just simple things. I'm easy to please. So when I say I'm excited, I truly am. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm actually very excited about it. But in the tea garden, I might have told you in the garden haul video, but anise, fennel, borage, chamomile, cilantro, dandelion, echinacea, Italian basil, lavender, lemon balm, marjoram, mountain mint, peppermint, rosemary, and thyme. So I think that because I have a couple of others of these that I want to start, rosemary in particular, thyme, lavender, echinacea. I may wait to start some of these and just like put them straight in the planter once it's warm enough outside. I can just throw them right in to the soil, or I might go ahead and start some inside. I'm really not sure. I need to look more into that. But what I do know is that I want to get a plan together for specifically peppers, onions, tomatoes, the things that take a little bit longer to germinate and to grow, and the things that require warmer soil temperatures before you can actually put them outside. My tomatoes and peppers and onions, I really like to sit those out for like 2 or so weeks before I plant them in the ground to be exposed to the elements. So like wind specifically, sunshine. The first 2 years that I gardened, I definitely made it a point to set the plants in the pots that I had on my grow shelf. You can see we set our grow shelf up. It's not fully set up. I just set the actual shelf up. I need to get a plan together I ordered some more grow lights. So those just came in today. So we have a couple hanging, but the ones that I got are a different kind. They're just like a white light. The other ones are kind of like a purple and red light. And they don't all fit in together. So I just have to figure out a plan for how I want to do the grow lights, but that's not a huge rush because, I shouldn't really need those anytime soon anyways, for at least a couple of weeks. So, I have that. I have some seed starting mats too that just came in today. So we'll just kind of get this set up in the next week or two to get ready to start some seeds. Which we'll get to. By the end of the video, I'll have a whole plan put together for when we're going to start our seeds. So yeah, I like to harden off, as they say, my plants before I put them in the ground, just so that they're exposed to the wind, the sunshine, all the natural elements in the outside world that they haven't been getting in the last 8 or so weeks indoors. I like to put my grow shelf here by the window because I do open the window. They get some natural sunlight. They have the grow lights, and then with the window open, they do get a little bit of like breeze. Definitely not wind like they would get outside, but there's a good breeze that comes in, helps with their growth and their strength of their stems, things like that. So I have my really incredibly old MacBook here that I'm trying to do things on. I really don't want to buy a new computer, but YouTube is making that difficult because I think I need one to do some of the things that I've been doing on YouTube. For the most part, I've been able to do pretty much everything from my phone, and I did get a new phone because it was time for an upgrade after 3 years. So the filming and the storage space and everything has been so much better on my new phone. I have my MacBook here because I just wanted to bring up a calendar to look at the dates. I checked the last frost date in my area, so that it's like an average last frost date of the last few years. It gives a range anywhere from May 21st to May 31st. I don't believe May 21st at all. Maybe this year, we'll see. But I know the last 2 years, the 2 years that I've been in this area, we have gotten late May snowstorms, and I mean like 8-inch snowstorms. Granted, they don't last and stick around for very long, but it's accumulating snow and freezes that would definitely have ruined my plants had I put them out on May 21st the last 2 years. I went with my gut and I waited until the beginning of January because I also was like being super neurotic about checking the weather for the last couple of weeks of May to make sure that I wasn't going to make a mistake and put my basically full-grown plants that I have been growing since February outside, and then they succumb to a major frost or snow. I would have been devastated. So I'm so glad I waited until June to put them out. June seems like a really safe month here in Colorado to do that. I don't know how I feel about May. We will definitely keep up with the weather this year and see if maybe the end of May would be a good option. I also kind of plan it around like my schedule and work schedule and other things so that I have plenty of time to put them out there and keep a close eye on them and let them do their thing. But honestly, once I put them outside, it's kind of up to them at that point. I make sure that I'm watering and taking care of them, but they kind of have to, it's like survival of the fittest out there. So let's get a plan together for some of our seeds that we need to start in the next couple of weeks. Once again, the cat's running through the house. You're probably going to hear in the background every video, I swear. I have my handy little journal here. This is a little plant journal that I keep. I have intentions of keeping it every year. There's literally nothing in here. I can't even lie to you guys right now. I started it the other day and it says, what does it even say? 2024 garden planning, start indoors. That's as far as I got. So I'd like to think that I'm keeping a journal. Like I said, I haven't been. I should have been for the last 2 years, but I have this for this year. So we're gonna really, really try hard to keep more of a record of things. When I start seeds indoors, when I put things out, how long it takes things to germinate, grow, whatever. When I fertilize things, literally anything I'm gonna try to keep a record of this year. We'll see how that goes. I'll give you guys an update by like May and let you know. Okay, so we have this. I told you our last frost dates, so we're just gonna basically count backwards from there. I'm gonna go off of May 31st because like I said, we had May 30, May 31st snowstorms the last 2 years. So I feel like that's a safe bet for the last frost date. So if I'm looking at the calendar right now, today is February 21st. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus a couple extra days. So 14 weeks brings us to May 29th. And that seems to be roughly probably about the time frame. I'm hoping we don't get a super, super late May snow this year, but we'll see. So right now I'm about 14 weeks out from my last frost date. That sounds so extreme, and it is. Any of you southern gardeners or anyone gardening in a warmer climate, you're probably thinking that that's terrible and we have a super short growing season. And we do. I think the growing season, I feel like we looked it up the other day. I want to say it was like 144 days or something. So that's what, like roughly 5 months or so. Basically, May to early October is when I can get things out of my garden, which isn't terrible, but I would love if my growing season was longer than that, and it's just not. So it is what it is. So 14 weeks out. So I have tomatoes, peppers, and onions that I specifically want to focus on right this second, because I know that those are gonna take the longest to grow and that I need to start those the earliest. Peppers especially have like a longer germination time. Let's see. Like I said, all my stuff is really unorganized now from the other day. So I tried to separate out, but I didn't do a very good job of it. That's what we're doing partly in this video, is kind of separating them out. Of the back of my seed packets, the ones from In My Gardener, most all of them, but especially these, tell you to start it indoors or to direct sow it or whatever. This one, rosemary, 10 to 12 weeks before the last frost, or you can direct sow it after the last frost. It takes 15 to 25 days to germinate, has a germination temperature, days until maturity, plant spacing, and plant size. So right now, all I'm worried about is starting indoors. Like I said, some plants I specifically like to direct sow, and some I like to start inside. I think my herbs this year I'm gonna start inside. A lot of my herbs I tend to direct sow, but I feel like they'll do a little bit better maybe if I can get them bigger before I put them outside. And then if we wanna direct sow some later, then we can always do that too. So I'm gonna kind of get a plan together. I have most of my seeds here from the other day that I know I need to go ahead and start soon out. So I'm gonna kind of put together like what's 10 to 12 weeks, what's 8 to 10 weeks, what's 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost, and start there. So okay, I think I kind of have everything sort of separated and a little bit of a plan together for how I want to do this. So I'm just going to write on here from the earliest I need to start the seeds until the latest. So the furthest away from our last frost date to the closest to our last frost date. So I'm gonna get my notebook here since we're trying to be better about keeping records this year. What I found, so I went through my box and got out pretty much everything I'm planning to grow. There's still a couple things in the box that I didn't take out, and I'll tell you why in just a few, but but I took out my rosemary. I didn't realize this, and maybe that's why I haven't really had success with growing rosemary from seed. The last rosemary I had was already in a pot from like Lowe's or something, and that's what I used, and it grew well, but I didn't start it from seed. There's only a few things the last 2 years that I haven't started from seed, and it's been like rosemary, lavender, just a couple of herbs, but pretty much most all of my like plant starts, my vegetable starts, I started from seed. I didn't get starts that were already in pots or anything. Okay, so rosemary, 10 to 12 weeks before the last frost. It says to start them indoors 10 to 12 weeks before the last frost, or you can direct sow them after the last frost. So 10 to 12 weeks, that's a lot. My plan is to go ahead and start, I know we're 14 weeks out right now, go ahead and start some seeds in the next week, probably week to 2 weeks. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on my list to start sooner rather than later, in just little soil pods and see how they grow inside. So start indoors, 10 to 12 weeks before last frost. I'm gonna write up here at the top of my sheet just our last frost date for the year. And I'll put May 21st to May 31st, just so I can keep an eye on the weather and kind of decide from there when I want to put everything outside. So 10 to 12 weeks before the last frost, we're gonna put rosemary on here. And that's the only thing I think that I found for 10 to 12 weeks. I do have a bunch of things here for 8 to 10 weeks, so we'll go through that next. I'm gonna leave some blanks just in case I find other things that I wanna write on here, but we'll go down a few lines and we'll do 8 to 10 weeks. I think this is gonna be most of the peppers and things. Peppers, like I said, just take a really long time to germinate and to grow. So I've got, trying to keep them a little bit organized with by category. So these are all peppers that I'm gonna try. So we've got the big red bell pepper. I showed all of my seeds in my garden haul video, so if you haven't checked that out, go over there to check out to see what I ordered from In My Gardener. I'm probably gonna show a lot of the same things in this video, but I'm just gonna briefly kind of go through the peppers and write them down. I definitely have more information on that video for what I ordered. So big red bell pepper, okay, so yeah, 8 to 10 weeks before the last frost, 10 to 21 days to germinate, 65 days until maturity. So usually my peppers are like decently large before, probably like this big, when I'm able to put them outside, which is actually great because it seems like we get a lot of wind in the spring and early summer, and they can handle that because they've grown, you know, big and strong enough that they can handle the wind. So I prefer my peppers to be a little bit larger when I'm putting them outside. Giant Marconi pepper. Peppercini. Large red cherry pepper. Big gem pepper. Habanero. And serrano. I think that's all of my peppers. So I don't have tons of specific plans for these except for the habaneros. I would like to grow enough to make my mango habanero hot sauce. The others, I may try to do like some fermented hot sauces this year. We'll see how that goes. And then the bell pepper, we just really like to eat. The red bell peppers are my favorite, so we'll probably just eat those fresh. The pepperoncinis, I'll definitely pickle those and can them. And then, yeah, just some other things. You know what I actually need to throw in here? Jalapenos, because we do like to have jalapeno peppers. So I'm going to write them on my list just so I don't forget. I think I have some in my pepper box somewhere, but I should put them with my other ones so that I can go ahead and start those soon too. All right, so that's 8 to 10. Oh, we have a few more 8 to 10. Onions. I didn't realize that some onions only grow in specific areas, so I didn't check that before I ordered these. I don't know exactly what that means. Yeah, it looks like there's like northern growing areas and southern growing areas for these. This Texas early grano onion, I'm not sure if it's gonna actually grow here, but it looks like the others probably will. Anyways, I'm gonna just go ahead and start them just to have them and see if they work out. I have a red Weathersfield onion. Texas grano. And some shallot. I'm excited to try the shallot this year. I think I'll use that quite a bit. So those are also all 8 to 10 weeks. So moving on to 6 to 8 weeks. Mostly tomatoes. So 6 to 8 weeks. We've got our Dr. Witchy's yellow tomato. 6 to 8 weeks before last frost, 5 to 10 days to germinate. It looks like that's consistent between all of these tomatoes, pretty much, yeah. All 6 to 8 weeks and then 5 to 10 days to germinate. So the germination time is really short, which is nice. I say that that's nice because it's nice to know if you need to restart, like replant them or not. By the time you get to the 21-day mark with the peppers, and sometimes it's even a little bit longer than that, if you don't realize that you need to start new ones, then you might miss the growing opportunity for those. So I like to know sooner rather than later if something's not going to germinate so that I can restart it. So that I can restart it and try to grow some more before before actual gardening season. So Dr. Witchy's Cherokee Purple, one of my favorites to grow. Black Prince. Matt's Wild Cherry Tomato. Wisconsin 55, another favorite of mine. Yellow Pear. These are my tomatillos. The Grande Verde Tomatillo. I'll just put that with the tomatillos. And then the Roma and Amish Paste tomato. So those can be started a couple of weeks after the others. I have some herbs here that are also 6 to 8 weeks. Thyme, lavender, and I'm going to try to grow flowers from seed this year. I think I talked about that in the garden haul video. These are some snapdragons. You can see they're open and I just tossed them in the ground and that definitely didn't work. So I'm going to try to start them inside this year and see what happens. So these are snapdragons. I kind of briefly went through my other flowers in the box, and it looks like most of them can be direct sowed. I'll go through a little more thoroughly and just make sure and see if there's anything else I want to start inside. I do have these, Aster and Bee Balm. I'm pretty sure, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong on this. I'm pretty sure that these don't bloom until like the second or third year. I think you plant it and then they're like perennials, they grow back, but they don't actually bloom until their second growing season maybe. I really don't know a whole lot about either of these, but it says that you can, they're wildflower seeds, it says that you can sow them in either the spring or the fall. If you plant them in the late fall, it looks like they'll lie dormant through the winter and then they'll germinate in the spring. So once it starts to get warm in the spring, you should see some germination with these. But I'm pretty sure it takes 2 years to grow them. I'm gonna put them down as, let's see, do I need to direct sow? Oh yeah, it says for the bee balm, it'll take some time to germinate and may flower the second year after becoming well established. So I'm gonna look more into these and think about when and how I want to plant them. I'm just gonna set them aside so don't forget to do that. We just did 6 to 8 weeks. Now we're on 4 weeks before the last frost. I've got Italian oregano. Thai basil is 4 to 6. I can put 4 to 6 on here. Thai basil and Genovese basil. I think I went through most of the herbs. They're kind of all at different time frames. So the flat leaf parsley is 3 to 4 weeks. So I'm just gonna pop that down here below. I might even start them at the same time as the others and just see. So the flat leaf parsley, our mammoth Long Island dill, 3 to 5 weeks. Carrots, Imperator carrots. Purple carrot and the Royal Chantenay carrot. They are all 3 to 5 weeks before the last frost. 2 weeks before the last frost is the slow bolt cilantro. I got the slow bolt because it seems like with other cilantro packets that I've had, they didn't say slow bolt and they bolted pretty fast. So I wonder if this specific kind is going to be different and obviously bolt slower like it says. 10 to 14 days to germinate. Like I said, as soon as it gets hot out, if you have cilantro planted, it tends to bolt, go to seed very, very quickly. That's not a horrible thing because the seeds of cilantro is actually coriander. So you can harvest that and use it as a normal spice like you would any other coriander, which is really cool because I didn't know that for the longest time. But I'm going to try to keep it alive so that we can have fresh cilantro with, you know, tacos, guacamole, all sorts of things. Salsa. I make a lot of salsa and can that up. It would be nice to have homegrown cilantro for that. 50 to 60 days until maturity. So we'll see how this works out. I really am hopeful for it to not bolt because I really just never have a whole lot of cilantro throughout the season. So 2 weeks before the last frost. Okay, so that's everything that I set out. I have my plan together here, just simple pen and paper. I am a pen and paper girl. I talk about getting a new computer and I haven't because I think that I have all these ideas for really cool spreadsheets and things like that, especially when it comes to growing season and planning my garden. I think that a spreadsheet would be really helpful throughout the years. But I just love to write things down on paper too. Like writing it down helps me remember it a little better as well. So that's what we have there. I'm gonna try to keep these semi-organized for the moment and get them kind of in order. So like I said, it is February 21st today, Wednesday. I think by next weekend for sure, by March 2nd, probably a little sooner, I'm gonna go ahead and start some of these seeds. So I'll go ahead and start the rosemary first, since that's 8 to 10 weeks. We'll still be, what is that, 12 or 13 weeks out? I would say 12 to be on the safe side. So that is still more than enough time, obviously more than the recommended time. It seems like every year I start my seeds in late February, early March, and it's a long time to grow seeds indoors. There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't grow seeds indoors for very long. Once they start getting big, their roots can just get really compacted in the soil that they're in if they don't have enough room to spread out, and that can make it really hard on them when they go outside to be able to have their roots expand and things like that. So I don't want to do it too early. Even the last couple weeks I've been just anxious and antsy to go ahead and get started on seed starting, but there are many reasons why you don't want to do it too soon. So we will start our rosemary first, and then probably go ahead and do, this is all 8 to 10 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks for the rosemary. 8 to 10 weeks, probably go ahead and do the onions and the peppers next. So I would say beginning of March or so, we'll do those. And like I said, I also like to find out first. I really want to go ahead and get the peppers started, because if they're not going to germinate, I like to know sooner rather than later, so I can go ahead and start some more and give them enough time to grow. So I'm going to say about the second week in March or so, we'll probably have the rosemary, the onions, and the peppers all started. Some of the herbs, and then after that, we'll wait probably another week or two before we start the tomatoes. And then, of course, we'll just go in order from there for like 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, all the way down until we get down to our carrots and our cilantro. Oh, actually, the carrots, I meant to mention that you can direct sow these. It doesn't say to start these indoors. It says to direct sow 3 to 5 weeks before the last frost. I wouldn't want to start carrot seeds indoors just because I feel like by the time I'm able to put them outside, they'll already have grown a little bit, and I'd rather them just grow straight into the garden bed. So I'm going to leave these out on the bottom so that we'll know we just need to direct sow these. And not start them indoors. Everything else that I mentioned is to start indoors. There's options to direct sow them after the last frost, but with my 144-day growing season, give or take, that's not going to work out super well with everything. It'll work out with some things, but not with everything. So yeah, that's what we have for our plan for that. And then I'm going to look through some of our other boxes here. We've got cucumber and squash that I'm going to try to grow. I grow squash every year, but cucumbers have been unsuccessful here. I'm going to try again this year. All of these things are to direct sow. My radishes I direct sow. Beets, turnips, rutabagas, beans. Kale and leafy greens do really well direct sown. I've tried to start those indoors before. They didn't do really great, and also my cat likes to eat leafy greens. If any of you guys know my cat personally, you'll know that she loves leafy greens. Kale, arugula, all of it. It's her favorite. She loves it. She's not a huge fan of romaine, but anything else leafy green she loves. So when they were starting to grow, she was just eating them. I try to keep everything that I know that she likes to get to. Sometimes tomatoes, the smell of tomatoes, she really takes towards. A couple other things, I try to put those on the higher shelves. She won't climb, so I don't worry too much about that. But I thought about also getting a cover for my grow shelf this year to, for one, keep the plants away from her. Because she does sit on the couch here. She sits in the chair. And if it's easily accessible, then sometimes she'll kind of climb up there and sniff around. She doesn't really mess with too much stuff. And like I said, the ones that I know she'll mess with, I put on the higher shelves, and she does not climb. She's 10 years old. She's not climbing on anything really. So, but I thought about getting a cover to keep them away from her, and then also maybe to keep it more of like a humid, moister environment in there. I don't know. You guys send me your thoughts on that. Let me know what you think about having a cover for your grow shelf and if that has helped you with seed starting. I really like the ambiance of the grow lights. I think I mentioned that in the last video. Just the ambiance of it at nighttime is just really fun, and I really actually like to grow my plants indoors and have them in this front like living room. This is all my living room kitchen area, this entire space. So on the back side of here is where you guys see me normally filming when I'm in the kitchen. And then this front side here is like my front sunroom living room area. I have a downstairs living room that's more of a functional living room, but I love this wide open space. It's like a tri-level house, so this is our mid-level, and it's just so open. It's very inviting for lots of people. If I have people over, this tends to be the place where we all gravitate towards, just because the kitchen is here and the fridge and snacks and drinks and things like that. It's just a really great common area, and yeah, it just brings me so much joy to have my plants started in here. I can't even explain it enough to you. Yeah, see, she's getting ready to jump on the couch right now. She likes to lay on that blanket there. So if you see blankets and boxes and all sorts of things laying around, they're for her. We kind of just live here. She runs the place. So a few more tomatoes. I don't think I'm gonna grow. These are ones from the previous years, but I think I have everything that I want to grow from in my gardener this year. This is a couple of other peppers. Yeah, so I need to see if I have jalapenos actually. I might toss out some banana peppers because I have the pepperoncinis, but pepperoncinis and banana peppers are two separate peppers. I think people get them confused often, including myself, but they are actually different peppers. The skins on them are different. So I do have jalapenos. I absolutely want to take these out because I'd really like to grow them. I also have like a bell pepper mix as well. I might set these out and see if I want to do those or if I just want to do the red. So yeah, there's a couple other things in my boxes that I mentioned in the garden haul video that I'll probably try to plant, but I'm not going to worry about those things just yet. Just as we're getting started, I don't want to overwhelm myself because I do this every year with starting plants. We're just going to take it one step at a time this year, start with seeds indoors, and try to really have a plan in place for when and how I want to grow those. How I want to grow them, I have some seed starting trays. Let me grab those actually too. I have these Jiffy brand seed starting peat pellet kits. So this is what I have used the last 2 years. It says natural and organic. It's probably not the most organic or the best thing that I could use to start my seeds in, but I've had a lot of success with them, and I really like that they're just individual little pellets. You just kind of open these up, moisten them, and fluff the soil up, stick your seed in there, seeds, and then cover it back up. And then I also like that it comes with this plastic tray on top because you can cover the top of it, and it's like a dome greenhouse effect, keeps it warm and moist inside. So that's really important to keep your soil moist and warm while the seedlings are growing and trying to germinate. Everything, I think pretty much everything germinates best. I just learned from another YouTuber's video, Becky at Acre Homestead. I just learned that there's some cold stratification methods to growing certain crops and things, mostly flowers. It seemed to be, I want to say actually marigolds was one of them. I need to look at that and see because I do have some marigolds that I wanted to plant. So I need to do more research on cold stratification. I have never heard about that before. I didn't even know that was a thing. That those actually take cold to germinate. I think you're supposed to stick them either like in the fridge, the seeds, stick them in the fridge or in some kind of cold area for a while before you plan to grow them, so that they think they've gone through like a cold season and then they're ready to like germinate by spring. So none of these vegetables that I have are cold stratification plants. That's not a thing with any of these. So I want to keep these nice and warm. There are also some seeds that do germinate best with light, and then some that you don't want light on to germinate. I've never really paid too much attention to that, but maybe this year I'll look at all of my seeds and just see if that's a thing for any of them that I need to be aware of. I have these big 72 pellet trays, and I think I'm going to try to keep everything pretty well organized kind of by category, like all the peppers in one, or, you know, one or two. And then the tomatoes separate, the onions, and all the other things separate, so that I can put them all in here according to their planting date, and also according to like moisture levels and things like that they require. I just think it's easier to make sure that you're giving them the accurate amount of water and light and heat depending on what they need. And that's going to be so much easier to do if they're all kind of separated by category. I have 5 shelves on my grow shelf here, so I can easily move between the shelves what needs to be moved around depending on my light situation, my seed mat situation. Here are my seed starting heat mats that I got. These are the ones I've used the last couple of years. This is what they look like. Those are new ones. This is one that's already been out with like a seedling heat mat. It's just a thin mat. It plugs in. It gets pretty warm. I don't know if it gets to a certain temperature or not. It also gives a average temperature range for optimum germination for certain plants like basil's on here, parsley, peppers, tomato, and it looks like the range is like 70 to 80 degrees for all of those. And it also has like approximate days to germination, which I can already tell that looks like it's a little off because it says 7 to 10 days for peppers. And in my experience, most peppers take about 2 to 3 weeks to germinate. So, anyways, so yeah, we'll go by this. I'll try to be more intentional about what I'm putting on the heat mat, what I'm using the lights for to help germinate versus what I'm not, and things like that. I really want to be more organized with seed starting this year. I always think that I'm going to be, and then I just kind of throw stuff in seed pellets or throw stuff around the garden outside, and then stuff pops up and I'm like, I have no idea what this is. So also with labeling is so important. I last year was just labeling like a row, so just one label for like what everything was. But then once you up pot them and put them in different pots, I was like getting so confused and not writing on the pots what they were, or I was writing them on the pots, but then I was moving some stuff around, or I just had like the little markers in them, moving stuff around, and then they weren't getting put back in place. And so the last 2 years, I've definitely had some mystery plants where I've had to try to figure out what they were once they grew big enough because I didn't label them correctly. So I definitely want to be better about that too. I try to be a little bit of a perfectionist, or I think of myself sometimes as a perfectionist. But then as you're, watching these videos and you see how I don't very accurately measure things and other stuff, you're like, she's not a perfectionist at all. And it's true. I have these thoughts about doing everything perfectly right and to a T. It really never turns out that way. But honestly, it's always fine. So, and if it's not fine, then it's not the end of the world. I'm not worried about it. So yeah, 14 weeks out at this point. I'm not going to start seeds with you guys today, even though I really want to. We're going to wait probably until next week or the following week to start some things. I think in the meantime, I'm going to do some research on the seeds and light germination, heat, things like that. Checking up on those onions to see if those are ones that will grow in my area because I've had very poor experience with onions. And yeah, just getting more of a plan together about where I want to put things in the garden. We tried to, my husband has an app on his phone that is really great with like placing plants in your garden beds. And it tells you like what gets along well with other plants, what's good for companion planting, what it doesn't get along well with, what to avoid planting near certain things. So that's really great. It keeps everything sort of organized. We've been using that to try to figure out where we're going to put things. We are expanding our garden this year. Stay tuned for that because I'm hoping to have some videos on it once the ridiculous snow outside melts. It's 60 degrees, but we still have like a ton of snow in our yard that is just accumulated and won't melt because it's in the shade. So once we can get out there and once my garden beds are a little more unfrozen and we can actually do some work with those, I'm planning to make more videos on that and how I'm hoping to sort of arrange our garden this year. So the last 2 years we've had 2 raised garden beds. we kind of separated them out because I didn't need them to be as deep as they were. So I think we're going to have 4, maybe 5 large raised garden beds this year. And I have some in-ground garden space that I've grown my tomatoes in the last couple years. I like that area because it's along the fence line and it really prevents a lot of wind damage to my tomato plants. But I also really want to try planting some tomatoes in some raised beds this year and see if they do better. So stay tuned. I think I might do some in the raised garden bed and some along the fence line again. But I know that you're also supposed to rotate your crops every 2-3 years, something like that. So this is year 3, so I'm pretty sure we should start thinking about putting things in different places just to, make sure that we can keep nutrients in our soil and have the best luck with our growing season. We do have some potato bags, which are really awesome. We got those for free because the neighbor across the street was moving out and was getting rid of a bunch of garden stuff for free. They just kind of set it out by the curb and asked us if we wanted any of it. So we have 10 grow bags. I think we're going to use maybe 8 of them for potatoes and 2 others for a couple other things. I can't remember what I was going to try to put in pots. There was something that I left out of the garden beds. Maybe the beans. I think they're bush beans. I think I might try to just grow those in grow bags. And then I think I'm going to scatter some pots throughout the yard. I have another little square garden space that I grew rutabagas in last year, and that worked really well. So I think I'm going to do that. It's in ground. And then along my back fence line, I think I'm going to do the sunflowers there this year. We did garlic around that back fence line last year, and that worked okay. But now I have had garlic planted in my raised garden bed since October or November. I think it was November. Because you plant garlic in the fall to get a summer harvest of that. It takes a really long time to grow garlic. So I do have them in a raised bed right now. The situation with that is that it's in my biggest raised bed. I planted them and they are not really thinking about expanding the garden space or how I wanted to expand it. And so they're already in that garden bed. And they don't really need to be because, of course, they don't have super deep roots. I really kind of want to keep that garden bed as deep as it is for things like tomatillos. I don't know if it's necessary for them to have such a huge depth for growing. I feel like last year the roots were so large on those and the stems were so large. So I think I might want to just keep one raised bed sort of deeper than the others for my tomatillos. And I think that's really the only thing I can think of that has such deep roots like that. And then along the other side of my fence line is a flower garden that I made last year. Those were all potted flowers that I got from the store that I planted. And yeah, some of these that I grow this year, I have some flowers in my box here that I didn't go through. I may try to plant out in that flower garden. And then my vertical gardening planters here, I'm going to put sort of on the side near our house, 2 of them, 10 each. Do the tea garden in one, and I think maybe just an herb/flower garden in the other, and see how they do. I have a big mulched bed already, and we grew potatoes in the ground there last year. I think I'll still have room in the front to try to grow some more in-ground potatoes. But also I want to try the grow bags and see how they do in that too. So I think that'll be a good space for the vertical planters. I have patio space too if I want to put the vertical planters on the patio, but I really like to keep the patio free of a whole lot of plants just because we spend a lot of time on the patio in the summer. Sherry likes to go out in her little tent on the patio. Our grill, our chairs, we have a little table that we sometimes eat breakfast and stuff, some of our dinners. Things like that. So I don't like to clutter the patio with a bunch of planting accessories and things. So that is my 2024 garden plan as of right now. That could totally change. Maybe by the time we get back together to start some seeds together, that might have changed a little bit depending on my research and how that goes. But I'm really trying to be way more intentional with this whole thing this year. Even though I've had success the last 2 years, the first year was really great. I thought I had beginner's luck with gardening. I think maybe I still did. because I was just willy-nilly with stuff. I did not really think hard about what I was doing or really even know what I was doing. Last year, I told you guys I was so discouraged by the fungus gnat situation that I kind of was just like, by the time it was time for me to put things in the ground, I just put them wherever, I did whatever. I didn't really put a whole lot of focus into it. So this year is redemption with the gardening season, and I'm going to try to do it really, really well just to maximize how much I can grow and produce and preserve and even give to friends and neighbors and things like that. That's just my biggest goal for the year, is to have a more abundant garden, but also to just be able to share things with others. So that's where we're at. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I was trying not to make it super long-winded, but it seems like you guys actually really enjoy the videos where I'm just sitting here chatting with you about, you know, pantry tours and garden prep and whatever else. So please comment below. Let me know what videos you're liking the most. If you like this one, if you have recommendations for how I should grow things, set up my grow shelf, anything that you've heard in this video that you have any tips and tricks on, please, please, please let me know. I'm always open to any advice, especially as just a third-year gardener. I feel like I do know a lot about gardening, but then again, there's still a lot that I don't know. So please, I will take any tips and tricks that you have. And I hope that I've been able to share some tips and tricks with you guys today too. Again, if you want to try some of the vertical gardening with the planters, the stackable planters, these came from Dollar Tree. Like I said, maybe not the best quality, but they're actually pretty good. I think I'm going to be super impressed with them. If I can figure out like a makeshift system to do sort of a drip irrigation in it, I'm sure we could figure something out. You can cut these bottoms out for drainage and stuff, so I'm sure that we can totally figure something out. Then I'll share that with you guys. I'll let you know how that works out. But I'm really, really excited to try this, and really so stoked about the tea garden situation. So I think it would be really fun to just grow enough herbs, medicinal and tea herbs, to be able to dry them all, stick them in jars, have this really cute collection of like dried herbs and herbs for tea and things like that. I think there's a lot of options that you could do with that, and I'm excited to have that this year. So I think that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining. Again, please like and subscribe. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please send your friends to my channel. For anybody that's interested in sort of like beginner gardening or beginner homesteading, I feel like I'm the girl for you. This is my third year kind of doing all of these things, and I'm just learning day by day and learning as I go. But I have lots of helpful tips that I can share with you guys too. So again, comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I realized that I left a couple things out as I'm trying to put some things away. The sunflowers, the Autumn Beauty and the Velvet Queen from In My Gardener. These are also 2 to 3 weeks before the last frost. You can start indoors, and I definitely want to try to start these indoors so that I hopefully have better success when putting them outside. So let's put those on our 2 to 3 week list. Also the butterbush squash. This says to direct sow when soil is workable. I absolutely want to try to grow these. I don't think I'm going to grow any other sort of pumpkins because they just take up a lot of room and I don't really have the space for them. I think this is like a vining one. And it says it's a winter squash and will store well. It has a long shelf life. So I might try to even see if I can trellis these or something like that. But we're going to direct sow this. So I'm going to put just on my next page here, direct sow. And we'll put the squash down, and then I'll go through all my other things because everything else is pretty much to direct sow. And put those on my list as well, just to keep track of what needs to be put in the ground once it gets warm out. The thing with direct sowing is that I told you guys I have a short growing season. So if I'm putting seeds directly in the ground and it takes, this one, the squash says 75 days till maturity, but some things take up to 100 or so days. That means I'm not getting a harvest until August, maybe even September. So it just, like the rutabagas, the turnips, things like that, I really can only get like one good crop from those because they take such a long time. So we just need to be mindful of that when we're planting. You can't really succession plant those because I don't have enough time to do that. So we'll put this on our list, and then I'll go through and put all the other direct sow things on here as well. And then that'll be something to worry about later. Like I said, we're just gonna take it a couple of weeks at a time and go from there and have a lot of success this year. I'm manifesting it into the world. We're gonna have an abundant growing season. You're gonna have an abundant growing season, and this is all gonna go very, very well. So we'll see what happens. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.